Anyway, guys, let's start. So I'm Daniel. I will be your host today. And today with me, we have Omer from Meta and we have Gag from Square Science. So the agenda is the following. Omer will make a quick intro into Facebook Conversions API and how it can be helpful to you and to your online marketing efforts across Meta properties. Then I will briefly talk how Facebook Conversions API or CAPI in the short form, how it looks in Make, what to look for, what not to confuse it with. And then we will hand it over to Gag, who is gonna talk about his real world use case. Because many times we do these webinars and we talk about the theory, right? But finally we have someone real who is actually using it and who is seeing the results. And he's gonna show you his real scenarios which they built while using Facebook Conversions API. So this is the agenda. As I said, it's going to take around 45 minutes, and I believe we can start. So Omer, the stage is yours, and tell us more about.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege speaking in front of all the lovely and avid makers here. I'm Omer. I'm a partner manager in Meta, specializing in data signals, working with Make closely for the past, I would say, 5-6 years. This session is about Conversions API and best practices and use cases. And on the next slide, I would like to just kind of explain what Conversions API mean, what's the value proposition that you can get out of it, how does the integration process look like. I will also go over a distinction or a difference between the different channels of Conversions API. This session is mostly focused on Conversions API for web events, but we have an assortment of channels that Conversions API supports, such as web, offline, CRM, business messaging, and so on and so forth. But this session will be mostly on web. So when we think about Conversions API, the main merit and advantage is that Conversions API helps us to capture the whole customer journey. Now, there are a lot of events, probably most of you and your clients are probably advertisers on Meta and on other ad network systems. And at the end of the day, there's such an importance of sending events throughout the journey so you can educate the ad network systems so we can better serve your campaigns. This is all about closing the optimization loop. The more signals you're able to capture throughout the journey, the better we are able to optimize the campaigns and reach more relevant audiences for your success and your customers' success. The next slide depicts mostly on the integration, how the integration process looks like, and the different channels that we have in Conversions API. Now, when I started in my short preamble, I referenced that we have different ways or different mechanics that you can use in order to capture signals and send it our way. We support app, websites, offline data, and CRMs. You can see on the right side of this slide, you can see how a customer interacts with your website and how Conversions API is able to capture signals from a server side, and that's in addition to a pixel. What we consider as an optimal setup, and I'm referring to kind of the bottom left side of the screen, is keep on sending pixels as you're used to, but in addition, adding a Conversions API implementation. And that's the optimal setup, because when we get two signals from the web and from the server, think about it like an insurance plan. If the signals drop on the client side, then we're able to use a server-side event to cover it. And there are cases where you don't even have the signal on the web. So, for example, think about automotive verticals. If a car agency runs a campaign on Facebook, it's most probable that the customers will not purchase the car throughout the web funnel. So the last or the bottom meaningful event will be probably leave details, and the actual conversion will happen on, in physical car agency. So this whole concept of conversions API, not only that it kind of enriches your web data, it also supports funnels that are not accessible throughout the web. The next slide goes over how conversions API for CRM works. That's a bit different than web. And that's a bit different because the signal itself becomes super valuable, meaning that it goes through an initial state to a converted state, and that is happening within the CRM. So when you integrate to Conversions API for CRM, you have a couple of fronts here that you need to take care of. First, you need to pull the lead from our database. So that's kind of a pull API that takes the leads that got captured on a lead ads campaign and populate the CRM. And the second piece is to integrate into the CRM, kind of monitor its status like every, 2-3 minutes, and then send it back or pass back the signal to Meta when the lead is actually converted. Now, the beauty here is that using Make, this whole technical friction, and this is not a simple task. If you are familiar, and I suppose that you are familiar with a pixel integration, which will take 15 minutes for a very, very basic engineer or someone with basic knowledge, Conversions API for web or for CRM is a different story. It takes time. It can take weeks to months. But by using Make, it's really like 2-3 minutes of mainly configuration. There's no technical friction here, and it works like a charm. But this session will be mostly focused on Conversions API for web. But I just wanted to kind of plant the seed here for all of you guys to think about Conversions API for web. Start with the web and then expand across channels. The next slide actually goes over the benefit, and the benefit for using Conversions API is that, as mentioned before, as a result of closing the optimization loop, we've seen many customers seeing a 13% increase in their cost per result improvement, and that's significant. There are also many more value propositions here, but if you want to really think about it from a numeric perspective, then this is something that you're going to experience once you integrate through Make to our Conversions API. Some best practices on the next slide, or kind of a checklist how you can maximize your coverage. I think the rule of thumb is the more the merrier. The more signals you send, the better. But I would say that there's a focus here on the quality of signals as well. So, for example, it's great if you can share emails with us, but if you don't hash the emails by the way that we expect it to be, then we'll not be able to match the transaction. Now, what's good here that when you're using a platform like Make, you don't need to worry about all the nitty-gritty. All the technical integration is actually done by Make, and all you need to do is just use their beautiful user experience and just onboard to that. But sharing the customer information parameters is probably determined by your discretion or your client's discretion. And again, the more events you will share with us, there's a better probability that we can match the transactions being shared by you to a Facebook profile. And that's the way that we can determine that the campaigns are best suited towards those type of audiences. So this is important. I just want to go over how we gauge the quality of the integration. And the next slide talks mainly about event match quality, which stands for EMQ. EMQ is a score, and I guess, Daniel, you can go directly to the next slide. There's a nice diagram here that we kind of illustrate how EMQ is used and how we match the events. The more customer information parameters and the higher the integration is, there's a better chances that we can match the event. Now, if we are not able to match the event, then there's no optimization loop here, and the campaign will be suboptimal. And we don't want that. I mean, at the end of the day, our mutual goal is that campaigns on our platform will be very successful and impactful to your business and to your clients' clients. And the way to do so is actually to really emphasize on the quality of signals that you pass back, so we can match those events in a very successful way. And just the last slide will show you how events match quality, or EMQ score, looks like from an advertiser lens or from an advertiser perspective. It's actually a parameter that we expose on our Meta platforms. It's a score from 1 to 10, and it's calculated from an assortment of parameters. But just basically, it's the quality of the parameters, and we have a weighting system that there are a couple of parameters that are mostly important from a matching perspective. Now, everything is public. It's on our developer doc, so it's easily accessible. But the more you stick to our recommendations, the better optimization chances your campaigns will experience, and as a result, better growth for you and your clients. So that was me. Again, privilege to be here with you, makers, and I'm handing it back to Daniel. Thank you so much.
On what Omer was talking about and how it translates to the make world, right? So you can understand like what's to map where and what implications your actions in make will have on the performance of your copy scenarios. Now, before we get into the scenarios, I want to introduce make for those who are new to make, who are hearing us for the first time. So make is a no-code/low-code automation platform. We've been founded in 2016, so it's been a while. Of course, nowadays we are also heavily focused on AI-based automations, AI agents, etc. Make currently has around 400 employees already, and we are trusted by more than 350K customers. Some of them are, for example, Amazon, Bamboo HR, Bolt, or Walt Disney. Now, the beauty of Make is that once you start using it, it becomes kind of addictive, and the experience is very visual, so our users tend to like it a lot, and then we score a lot, or we score very high on the independent review sites. Now, Make is mainly about building your automations, your scenarios in a visual way by dragging and dropping various steps of the workflows, right? So we give you the tool, and you go and you build yourself. Out of the box, we provide around 3,000 connectors. 500 out of them are API AI-based apps. And then we even have some templates which were pre-built for you, so you don't have to start from scratch, or you can just get inspired and maybe then build something on your own. All right. Now, Make used to be mainly about scenarios and scenario building, right? So you would be traditional building basic automations, and with the AI focus now, of course, you can even add AI steps into your workflows, like OpenAI or our internal AI toolkit or Gemini, and then traditional steps with CRMs, tables, whatever, right? But then there are multiple additional layers which you should be aware of. We have recently, or not recently, it's been like 6 months, we released AI agents. So you can also build very advanced AI agents which are able to access context files, which are able to call scenarios or other automations as tools and act based on the results of those tools. We also have Make MCP server, so you can essentially convert your existing Make scenarios or existing Make automations into MCP server, which can be connected, for example, to your ChatGPT chatbot. And then finally, there's also an extra layer on the top of Make, because once things become complex, it's kind of hard to see what leads to where. And the grid is here to answer these questions exactly. So the grid is going to show you dependencies between scenarios or between special objects of interest like tables, email boxes, Airtable bases, and we are going to show you what leads to where. Now let's focus on the let's focus on the Facebook side of things moving forward. All right. So once you start playing with Make, you will notice that we support a lot of apps out of the box. And when it comes to Facebook properties, it's these, right? So we have a lot of Facebook apps. Uh, of course, there's also an WhatsApp app, but it just didn't fit my filter criteria. But here you can see that we have two conversions API based apps. One is this one. This is the one we'll be focusing on. And then the other is this one. This is the Facebook Conversions API for CRM. And we are going to have another webinar about this one because, as Omer said, the CRM part of things is a bit special. So when it comes to those two apps, the Conversions API app allows you to send events and get the quality score, which again, Omer was talking about. And then the Conversions API is mainly about sending the events. Technically, the Conversions API for CRM is just a subset of Conversions API, but more on that in the next webinar. So today we'll be mainly focusing on this one. So this Conversions API app is mainly targeted toward e-commerce professionals, right? Like you sell things online, you are not dealing with any leads, and you want to send those conversions back to Meta. So this is the app for you, right? If you are running like service business, you would be focused on this one. So let's talk about it now. So I'm gonna go to Make now, and I'm gonna show you a very, very basic scenario, right? Now, the good thing about Facebook Conversions API is that those scenarios tend to be quite straightforward and simple when it comes to the actual like Conversions API part, because all you need to do is you want to capture good events and then you want to send them to Meta, right? So let's just say I'm running a store online and I have some fake orders in my store, right? And every time there's a new order, I want to send it through Conversions API with Make, right? So I have built this scenario. It's just two steps. Again, everything is very visual. Every module, this is how we call these steps. This is how we call these bubbles. Will have certain configuration, and then you are just adding these modules step by step into the scenario. So let me just run this, and then we can focus on the technical details. Right. So I'm just going to rerun one of the past executions here. By the way, for existing users, the rerun feature is a lifesaver, right? Because it's very easy to test things right now. So I'm just going to run it. And here we can see that we have retrieved an order, which was order ID 299. There was some price, which was 0, some line items, etc. Right. Now, we took that order information and we sent it to Meta. When you execute this module, we are going to tell you whether the event was received, what is the trace ID, and some extra messages. I think they would appear in case there was a failure or something like that. Now, I am showing this on WooCommerce example, but of course, if you want to use Shopify, maybe you can do that too. So we have a lot of e-commerce apps. Again, you can go to make.com and there is a, let me just quickly show you. So make.com, then you would go to what is Make, apps, and then here you can start filtering for the apps which you are already using in your business and see if it's supported, right? So I was talking about Shopify. Yes, we have it. And when it comes to the scenario, it's here. So I could quickly just build a workflow which would be similar to this one. So let's say I would be watching orders, right? I would have to set up my connection to Shopify, which I happen to have as well. And then in the next step, I would add the Conversions API step where I would send the event, right? So you see how visual it is. It's mainly just drag and drop and chaining the things in the right order. And now you need to specify the event which you want to send by dragging and dropping the outputs from preceding modules to the current one. Now, I haven't executed the Shopify module, so that's why it's kind of blank. So let me just quickly go back to the WooCommerce example here and delete the previous one. And I'm going to show you what I configured for my orders, right? So here we have some fields, and you will notice that most of the fields are kind of optional, right? So the mandatory fields are the ones with asterisk, and everything else is kind of optional. Now, as Omer said, the fact that it is optional doesn't mean that you should not provide it. The more data you send, the more likely Meta will be to match it to actual user, and the more likely you will get like +1 conversion in the Meta Events Manager, which will translate to +1 conversion for your, like e-commerce campaign, right? So the more data you send, the more parameters you send, the better for you, and always try to just send whatever you have. Now, in my case, because it's just an e-commerce use case, my event, when talking about orders, it's probably going to be purchase, but you can select multiple events here and start sending them, depending, on your use case and on your business problems. And the good thing about e-commerce use cases is that pretty much every single like e-commerce solution is going to provide you with all these fields, like order ID, the currency code, the total of the order, in some shape or form. It's always going to come from the apps like, Shopify or WooCommerce. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So this is how I met, right? And the process of mapping looks like this. The preceding modules are always going to give you some outputs, and then you can decide what goes into which field like this. So if you are asked to provide order ID, you can quickly check. If you don't want to scroll through the full list, you can just search for it, and then you drag and drop into the position, and then you proceed to the next field, etc. Right? So then you can also provide the user data, so email, phone, names, addresses, etc. Now, I want to stop by here at the bottom because there's a lot of interesting ID fields, and especially this one, the click ID field. If you provide this, there is going to be very high chance that Meta is going to match the conversion event to actual user, and therefore you'll get like +1. But what is this? Now, if you are into website analytics and you see traffic coming from Meta, so anything which is clicked on Meta going to your site is likely going to have this like FBCLID parameter in the URL and some like hashed string with numbers and letters, right? So this is part of the click ID, which you can map. Now, if you are storing those click IDs when your users arrive to your website in a database or maybe in a GA or somewhere where you can actually retrieve this information with the actual order, then I would highly recommend you start sending this click ID. The way how to compose the full click ID is based on this article. So this is how it's supposed to look. This is what you get in the URL parameter. And then you basically need to prepend it with 3 sections looking like this. And it's well described here. And if you follow it, you will be able to do it, right? So whenever you store the click IDs and whenever you can pair them with actual orders, send it. It's gonna improve your event rate, match event rate, or the event quality. Right? Now, when it comes to the scenario building process, this is very simple, very straightforward, right? Like I have just 2 steps, but the scenarios can quickly become very complex, right? So maybe if you want to send a Slack confirmation to yourself that a conversion was updated, you can just quickly add 1 step. You would send a message, and then you will start configuring the module, and you can say, hey, order ID mapped was just sent to Meta, right? Whatever you need to do, you can always like add it as a next step. You can also start routing to different branches or sub routes if you need. It really depends on the use case. Now, as I said at the beginning, when it comes to the actual event sending to Meta, it's very straightforward, right? You just need to capture the event, and then next module is the Facebook Conversions API sent events, and that's pretty much it. So that's it for the scenario building process. Now, before I hand it over to Gag, I want to make a quick summary, right? So here again, I had WooCommerce, but don't feel like if you don't use WooCommerce, you are out of luck. No, check if we have your solution, support it. And even if we don't have your e-commerce provider, there is also a generic app called HTTP, which will likely be connected to any e-commerce solution or any like system which has an API. So you can just make a traditional API request similar to how you would do it in Postman, right? So be aware that this exists, and basically this module makes super universal solution because you can just connect pretty much anywhere. All right. So let me quickly also stop by the event match quality. So I'm gonna quickly turn on the slides again, and I want you to see this. So whenever you start sending the events to Meta, and then you visit your pixel in the Meta Events Manager, you will see all the events which you sent, right? So these are the purchase events which I sent through Make. And here you are gonna see the event match quality score, which Omer was talking about, right? So in my case, I'm not sending very good data, so I just get 4 out of 10. But I at least know that it's not good and I should improve it, right? Now, the good thing is that you don't have to go to Meta anymore to track this indicator, because we have recently released a new module in Make which can do it for you. So you can retrieve the event match quality score by using the get quality score module within the Convergence API app. And it's gonna give you the same results which you see in the web interface, right? So in my case, it was 4 when I tested, and then through Make, we also retrieved 4. So you can basically build a history or a database of your scores, and you can see the trends, whether they are improving or getting worse. Obviously, if they get worse, you should probably look into why. Like, am I sending all the emails I have, all the orders I have? Do I attach the click IDs, etc.? Right? So beware that this exists, and I would highly recommend you start tracking this score, because you will be at least knowing what's going on with your matching. And with this being said, I want to show you the final slide for my part. Once you start sending enough events, I would say probably like around 100 a month is probably a good number to have your campaigns optimized for the conversions. You will be able to see on the ad set level in the optimization section the events which you sent through Make, right? So you see, in my case, I was not sending enough, so it's kind of gray, but if it was like active and continuously receiving events, I would be able to select this purchase event as my performance goal for this particular sales campaign, right? So this is the ultimate goal which you are heading to, right? Like, you want to optimize towards the good events which happen maybe not even online, right? Which happen in your like e-commerce store, etc. So this is where you are heading to. So once you start sending enough events, don't forget to use it for the actual campaign optimization, right? One thing is to see the data here, but the final, cherry on top is to actually change the campaign optimization in your ad sets in Meta. And this is from my side. So now I will hand it over to Gag, who will show you and explain how they managed to use Facebook Conversions API within their company and how they were able to scale their operations. So Gag, the floor is yours, and tell us what you did.
Thank you, Daniel. First of all, thank you for inviting me to participate in this webinar, and let me to introduce myself and our company. I am Geram, Chief Operation Officer at Square Science. I joined the company around 5 years ago, and at that time I was not familiar with Make and also with not any kind of automation platform, and also I haven't any engineering background, so everything for me was new. About our company, Square Science is a Burbank-based signage and printing company. Since 2016, we have helped businesses and individuals create custom sign and prints of any sizes. Our online platform is built for a seamless experience, helping users design, personalize, and orders their signage in minutes with fast nationwide shipping. We also providing some AI solutions such as image generator, background remover, image enhancer to make platform even better for our customers. Okay, so Square Science as a company has many processes, and managing all these processes were quite difficult. That's why the company SEO Armand decided to use a no-code automation in 2019, and after some depth researches, he chose Make for its speed and really good visual interface. I should mention that Armand was not a developer as well, and this was his first time using no-code automation platform. During 2 years, Arma created almost 20 scenarios, which helped optimizing our company business processes. It also lets us integrated different platforms to enhance our company performance, as we did with integrating Facebook conversion API like this week. When I joined the company, as I already told, I was not familiar with Make, and it's really seems too difficult when I started using Make. But some after some like researches, some failures, and some learned lessons, I was able to create and uh, my first scenario was live after a week or so, and I was very proud of that like achievement, and everything started at that point. So those who participating in this webinar, guys, if you want like to do some automation job and you like automation, you should start right now. You don't need any technical background or engineering background. All you need is just creating a free make account and play with it. Create your very first scenario. Just see the result you want to see. After that, you can make sure that like uh, this will not be a simple job for you, but it become a part of your life, and you can use make automation also just for fun, as I'm doing now in my like life. So it's chance to start from here and make a like a big job. Now let's discuss the use cases and the process that when we use Facebook conversion API and how we like implement all this. Uh, just okay. So the entire process of implementing the implementing all this process take not more than like 5 to 10 minutes. This scenario looks a bit complex because it's one of our main scenarios we are using, and we getting data from our website and creating production tickets in and also some accounting documents. But the part wherein we integrate Facebook conversion API was really simple. So it can be done just only using these two modules, the trigger module and Facebook conversion API module. So let me show what we have done here. So each time we receive a new purchase from our website, this scenario is running, and we have added this module to our existing scenario and map all the data here to send as much information as possible to Meta, which will make like process even better to use all possible like benefits from Facebook conversion API. So I'll show you just one example already run scenario, which is Okay. So what we have here, we are sending the main event name, which is purchase. We send event time. We send action source, customer, and some custom data. So as I already mentioned, as much information you can send to Meta, it will be more accurate. So in our case, our platform, our website is in custom platform, but you easily can use the same solution for any kind of other platforms such as WooCommerce or Shopify. And in those cases, the main difference will be the trigger and other stuff will still be the same. So the next scenario we have created is this one. And using this scenario, we starting to send several additional events to Meta and also not Meta, and also customer IO, postdoc. So what kind of events we are sending using this scenario? Those are add to cart, remove from cart, add to wish list, update cart. So again, each time we receive an information from our website, then we send this data to Meta, again by simply mapping data from our triggered information to Meta. And the last scenario, we updated and adding Facebook conversion API module was the scenario. Again, it seems a bit complex, which again we're using for updating our existing orders. And also this line is responsible for cancellation or refunding. And again, here we have a Facebook conversion API module and sending data again by mapping from our trigger module to Facebook conversion API and sending all necessary information from our server to Meta. So
Hey, Gek,
yes,
I will have to jump in because we are running short on time and there's a lot of questions. But
okay.
if you could maybe summarize like top two things which made a difference, like by doing this, you get what? Like what was the main benefit?
Yeah, sure. After all updating and creating all this scenario, we were able to make our I'll go back to our slideshow. As a result, we can mention that after implementing all these processes, we was able to make 70% plus event match rate, achieving. So the next was reliable ad data that allows Meta to optimize campaigns for higher conversions. And also after using all this, we was like able to spend more like targeting ads and have more real data. So
Okay, awesome. I am afraid we'll need to skip the last use case. And
yes.
I would like to questions which we have from the audience. There's a lot of questions. I think we have no problem staying late, but if you guys have to go, we will probably record a full webinar and just send it out even with the Q&A this time. So if you have to go, it's fine. If you can stay and we can go through the questions. All right. Now, I was talking at the beginning about the special offer. So if you want to try Make for the first time, you can do it. I will change the layout so you can scan the code. And while you are scanning, I think we can go into the Q&A part. There's 17 questions, which we are happy for very much. So let's take it one by one. I am gonna start. Okay, so the first question, will there be a recording? Yes, there will be. You are gonna get it via email. Now, next question, what is the minimum volume of data for which this process works? How many leads or contacts? So I think, this is more like the CRM oriented use case, which there'll be another webinar for, but it used to be like 200 leads per month to be processed, but now this limit has been lifted. So there's no actual limit, but I would say probably 50 to 100 events per month being sent is probably a good number to start with. Another question, I think this is going to be for Omer because I don't have an answer. But the question is there a way to use AI to extract and analyze the Facebook data, or can an MCP be used to diagnose campaign performance?
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually didn't answer because there is no formal way to do so. Our APIs are public. So what you can do is, or you use a bundle of make services and you create a scenario that supports your, kind of demand or services that you're after, or you combine it, because you have a way to consume the APIs and just build something by yourself. But there's no out of the book or something that I can, kind of give you so you can work it out.
I think it's fine because on Make there is Facebook Insights app, and you can download campaign performance. It's basically like a CSV file which you get, and you can just run it through LLM and see what it has to say about your campaign performance. Obviously, it will need a decent prompt, etc. But it can give you maybe at least like basic insights into what's happening. And next question is, does it work with webhooks? Yeah, like as you could see in Gag's example, he was using webhooks to receive events. So for example, if you are running like custom website, which is not like a boxed solution, but you are able to fire webhooks to a URL which we can give you, then you can receive those events and then forward them through the copy module to Meta. Another question, is there a risk of reporting duplicate events by using Pixel and Conversions API? So on the Make side, you can actually provide event ID, which will be used for deduplication, but it's going to probably apply to only the copy part of the events. I'm not sure what's going to happen if you send two same order IDs through Pixel and through copy. I think it should be still deduplicated, right? Because the order ID is probably going to go even via the Pixel, right?
Yeah, I mean, I replied here. I don't think there's a risk. Actually, on the contrary, I think the more you send the events, even if it's the same one, it's better for us to duplicate it rather than lose one because of lack of signals or poor quality. So our optimal setup is called redundant setup, and that's when you share all you have from the client side, which is mainly pixels, and server side events. So I would actually recommend just send all you can.
Okay. Then we have two related questions around Facebook Conversions API for CRM and the leads. So guys, if you run lead forms on Facebook, you will not get the click ID. And this is where you are going to use the Facebook Conversions API for CRM. And the main ID to be mapped is the lead ID, which you do get through the Lead Ads app. All right. So for CRM stuff, you don't worry about the click ID. You worry about storing the lead ID in your CRM and having it on record as that particular lead opportunity is moving through the funnels. Then there is a question about Pixel and Copy. So I have a website with Pixel and Copy on a landing page for leads. Later on, I want to send copy event from my CRM if somebody becomes a client. Do you know if it crashes my Meta account if I send copy from landing page? No, like this is the same redundant setup. That's fine. So we don't have to worry about that. What if we are not using e-com solutions and doing lead gen? So we answered that CRM part. Now, event match quality for view content, page view, and add to cart is 6 for our brand. Can it be further improved? Well, yeah, but you need to send as many parameters as possible. and it is possible that you are not collecting them right now, right? So even if you are using Make and you are able to map pretty much anything, you need to make some, or you need to do some work on the data collection side at the beginning, right? So if you are not storing the full landing page URL with all the parameters, maybe you could start and you can get click ID from there, and that should probably improve the quality.
Yeah, there's a duplicate question, like two questions below. I think it was
Yeah, I
probably
see. Yeah.
made by mistake. But listen, 6 is quite a decent score for an add to cart or page view, because usually at that stage users are not required to supply their personal information. So theoretically, yes, EMQ goes up to 10, but de facto it's a very nice score for that stage in the funnel, as Daniel mentioned.
Okay. The next one, when is the webinar about the Conversions API for CRM? In about 2 weeks. I'm not sure if it was publicly announced, but if you are here today, I think you'll be notified about the next one too. LLM stuff, we answered that. All right. When I use this for leads, not e-com, is it possible, or is it good enough to use just email? Honestly, depends on the email, right? It might be a private email, it might be a work email, which is probably harder to match to Meta users. So again, send as many parameters as possible, and if you don't collect them, please start collecting. How do you filter? How do you filter a purchase that hasn't been through Meta Ads? I think you can send the events regardless, and if it has no basis in Meta, then it will not be matched to an actual user, right? Because on your side, Omer, when you receive those events, you actually try to trace back whether there were any ad interactions.
Yeah, so that I think the basic concept of the EMQ is actually to help you gauge the quality of every event, and if an event has like very poor quality and really like minimal or minimum customer information parameters, and we won't be able to match it, then we basically throw it to the bin. We have nothing to do with that. So yeah.
Yeah, can I explain? So we answered that with the demos. What's the benefits? We answered that. What are the most important score factors?
I pasted the link. Just
Yeah,
go to
I
the
see.
link. There's a
Okay.
table with weights, and when you open it, just scroll to the middle of the page. You see the top two are email and click ID, and the rest are also fine. But again, the rule of thumb: the more you share, the better chance that we have to match this transaction to a Facebook profile, and then we can optimize the campaign.
Yeah. Next one, what if my eShop does not run on Shopify or WooCommerce, but it's custom-made solution? So as I said, you can use our HTTP app to access that API, or you can just send events to webhooks, and that should be fine for like 90% of integrations. So we have the quality score question again. I believe we answered that. And okay, what is the benefit of using Make instead of official Meta plugins for copy for WooCommerce or Shopify? I think I can take this one. Look, it might be perfectly fine if you use official plugins, but the moment you need to customize the workflow a little bit, right? Maybe you need to execute like 3 steps there, 2 steps there, send some notifications, maybe store it into a database or into a Google Sheet that you actually send that event, store the trace ID, etc. You need Make, right? Because the default solutions, the plugins, they are usually not that customizable. And with Make, you can build a workflow exactly the way you need it to be. And I believe I may have run out of questions. Oh, there are 2 more. This one. Can this replace the expensive server-side tracking services which various companies offer? I believe it can to some extent, or maybe like to 90%, because at the end of the day, you are accessing the data which is not the standard online pixel stuff, right? So if it's buried somewhere deep down in your custom store, then you can use Make probably HTTP app to access the data and just send it. And I believe that might be it. Let's see. No, there's a few more. There's one for you, Omer.
Yeah, I can see that.
You want to read it one?
Yeah, listen, I think there's one word that stands out, and that's minimum. I would advise to share as much customer information parameters that you can. Um, and sometimes it takes time till the whole optimization mechanism kicks in. I would advise to always check the EMQ. That's the best score that you have public, and that kind of showcases the quality of your parameters and your integration as a whole. That's my recommendation here. There's nothing under the hood. Everything is very publicly available and should be surfaced in your business manager. So I would advise keeping track on your AMQ.
Okay, there is an interesting one, which is not directly related to copy, but I think we can still look at it. So when creating lookalikes with purchase events, the audience size is always below 1,000. Is there anything I can do to fix this? It's a tough one, right? Like, it probably depends a lot on the segment you're targeting, because if you get orders which are B2B, so people are using like business emails and business phone numbers, that I guess Meta might struggle to match it to like personal user profiles, right? So I don't have a trick here.
Yeah, I would just add a bit here. As a strategy, we're moving away from hyper targeting audiences to just really give like the engine a high level direction to what you're looking for, and let the algorithm work by itself. And that's a change of paradigm. If you go like 2-3 years back, where we had so many hyper micro targeting tactics that we used to recommend. So maybe if you remove some of, but I don't know if that applies to you. Okay, I'm just guessing here. But maybe if you remove some limitations on the lookalike audiences, and you just give it a very, very high level guidance, maybe then you can surpass this 1,000 limit. But it's just kind of an intelligent guess.
Okay, and few more. How do we get the event ID for matching and deduplicating? I'm not sure if it's stored in the URL FBC part or what. Well, the answer is simple. You are providing whatever ID you want. It doesn't have to be anything which you collect from Meta's interaction. It can be the order ID. It can be, I don't know, the phone number if people make just one-time purchases. It can be like any sort of ID which you think is good enough for deduplication, right? So this is important to understand. This is not something which is going to come from Meta. This is something which you set yourself. And then how often does the scenario need to run so we can get proper tracking? Well, it's very simple. Like, as soon as you get those conversions, typically webhook-based events, you should just send it to Meta. If you can't do webhooks, and you have to go with polling triggers, so every hour is probably good enough, right? If you are not in a super fast-moving business, anything below 1 hour might be just too much, to be honest. And that's all for the questions, but I have one final one for Gag, for our special guest, who has been silent in this section. Gag, do you have like any plans where you want to go next with Make or with Copy, or is it more like a business as usual for you at this point?
Sorry, can you repeat, Daniel?
Yeah,
I
so
missed it.
do you have any future plans where you want to take your Make scenarios, or is it now mainly about maintenance and there is nothing fancy being planned ahead?
No, of course, we have too many plans, and mainly we like planning to go with custom apps and also AI integrated. So we are going deeper and deeper.
Okay, awesome. So I guess on this positive note, I can say we are probably good for today. We are 13 minutes over, which doesn't happen very often. So thanks for all the questions, guys. Thanks for the attendance. You will get the recording, and maybe see you at the next webinar. And that is it. Bye, guys.
Bye,
Thanks, guys, for
Bye.
co-hosting with me today.
Pleasure as always.
Thank you.